Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome to the Newcastle United training ground in a rather blustery Tuesday morning, where we have access today at Sky Sports News to the training ground to watch Newcastle's players prepare for match day 2 of the season, which of course is away to Bournemouth on Sunday, just a couple of days after that opening day narrow victory over Southampton. Newcastle of course played for over an hour with 10 men and managed to squeeze out that 1-0 win to please the 52,000 who were at St James's Park and ensure that Newcastle got off to a winning start. So yeah, we've been given access into the training ground today to watch a little bit of training, and you'll be able to get more of this from me throughout the season, as we do get invites every 3 or 4 weeks to the training ground to watch the start of the training session. So subscribe if you can, if you haven't done already, and you can see more of this throughout the season. And it's just a chance for us to see a little bit behind the scenes as to which players are training, a little bit of the setup from the manager and the coaching staff and how they go about things, and a chance for you guys to see some of your favourite players in action. So before we get in and show some of the training, couple of little news lines. Fabian Schär was there today in training, despite being sent off at the weekend. We all know he's going to miss the 3 matches. Still no clarification yet from the club as to whether they will appeal that or not, but you would suggest it's looking unlikely that there's been no news from the club yet that they do plan to do that. So that being said, it looks as though Schär will miss the next 3 matches, which is Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest in the Cup, and then Tottenham Hotspur, and he'll return for and then Wolves, and then he'll return for the Tottenham Hotspur game. I think it's the other way around, isn't it? Anyway, he'll miss the next 3 matches. I'll get there eventually. It's been a long week, as you can imagine, with about 300 bids for Mark Gahey turned down. So I'll get on and speak a little bit about the Mark Gahey situation later on in the video. But first of all, let's have a look at training today, and then, as I say, we can have a chat about other things afterwards. So here's some of the action from today's training session. Okay, so that was Newcastle training this morning. As you could see, pretty much all the big names there. I didn't think I saw Kieran Trippier. Of course, he played for the under-21s against Sunderland last night as he makes his way back to full fitness following his exertions for England at the Euros during the summer. But most of the big players were there. Not really any notable absentees, which of course is good news. I thought that the squad certainly the bench looked a lot stronger on Saturday for that win against Southampton for match day number 1. You know, the likes of Almiron and Barnes and Lloyd Kelly on the bench. It was a strong looking bench. Obviously still missing a striker. It would be nice for Newcastle to have had Callum Wilson on there as an option to choose from, but it sounds as though he's not too far away from a return. And look, Alexander Isak of course would have led the line anyway. I said this on Saturday, I felt one or two of the players still looked a little bit off the pace, a little bit jaded. Anthony Gordon for one and Bruno for the other. They've had very, very hectic summers, and I think that probably was the main reason as to why they looked like that. And of course they played for over an hour with 10 men as well. I thought it was surprising that Isak probably didn't look quite as sharp as I would expected, given he's been well rested over the summer, but he was asked to do a difficult task up there, pretty much on his own, with a bit of help from Gordon and then Barnes, after of course Murphy was taken off in the wake of Fabian Schär's red card. So anyway, as promised, I said I'd talk about the Guéhi situation. And while we wait to see if Newcastle go back to the table, my information stood here right now on Tuesday lunchtime is that Newcastle are still at the table. They are still negotiating and they are still hoping to get a deal done, but as Eddie Howe said on Friday, they won't get to the stage where they pay what they deem as way over the top amount for a player. Now I think there's two ways to look at this. One, you can look at it and say, you know, why spend 65-70 million pounds on a central defender when you could essentially split that in half and spend 35 on a good central defender and 35 on a right winger. And I can see that argument because I think it's clear Newcastle need players in both positions. And you know, from the outsider looking in, you would suggest that would be the most sensible thing to do. Someone like a Malik Chow, or we've spoken about Joe Gomez before, but players of that ilk who are probably worth about 35-40 million pounds, defenders, that would then leave you money to then bring in a right winger as well. So I know there's a lot of people questioning why Newcastle are throwing so much at a central defender and trying desperately to get Mark Guéhi, but what I'll say to this is, and what I said to a number of fans I spoke to on Saturday after the match, is when Newcastle signed Bruno Guimaraes for 40 million, did people think that was a lot of money? Yes, they did. He's worth double that now. When Newcastle signed Anthony Gordon for 45 million from Everton, people balked at that, couldn't believe Newcastle were spending that. He's worth double that now as well. And I think it's a similar situation with Alexander Isak. 63 million pounds for him was the total fee. Newcastle would turn down any advances under 125 million pounds for Alexander Isak. So I think there comes a stage when you look at the recruitment, you look how well Newcastle have nurtured and grown these players, improved them and increase their value, and maybe that will be the case. We could be stood here in 2 years' time talking about Mark Guéhi being a £150 million valued central defender. So look, I think part of it is you need to trust the recruitment and trust the process and think, well, hang on, they've done well so far with these guys. But then the flip side of that, you say, hang on, there becomes a point where you think, let's get a winger and a central defender for that amount. And I think they're at a stage right now where they're trying to decide what the best thing to do is, because without doubt they're looking elsewhere. I think they've got a long list of alternate targets, while they're probably not of the exact same calibre of what Mark Guéhi is, given the fact he's played in the country, played for England. You know, they see him being a colossus of the team moving forward, and he is their number one target. They do have other options there, and I think it's come to the point where they are without doubt looking at that at the moment. So let's see what the next few days to bring. Remember, there's still 11 days of the window. However, there's, Fabian Schär will be back by the end of the transfer window, so there is that thing of, he is missing 3 games. It's not ideal, but unless you're going to get Guéhi or another player in now ahead of Bournemouth on Sunday, You know, is there any point? They might just, if it's going to take a long time, they might just hold off and wait and see what happens with Fabian Schär. But yeah, it was just so typical that was the player sent off on Saturday, which is the one position that would have a knock-on effect to what Crystal Palace are asking for Mark Guéhi. So let's see what the next few days bring. I've not got any new news in terms of their bids, but as I understand it, and I've been saying this for over a week now, negotiations continuing behind the scenes, and you know, Newcastle trying to find a solution to the problem. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the training footage from earlier, and I will see you later on in the week with a preview really to the match against Bournemouth on Sunday. All right, guys, speak to you soon.